You know, you can't beat a sci-fi fan base.
The three greatest names in television.
Richard Dean Anderson.
Aw, look at you.
Welcome to the Trekzone Spotlight. Matt Miller with you. Oz Comic Con in Brisbane this weekend is playing host to the three greatest names in television, Richard Dean Anderson. Welcome to Australia, and thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Your first acting role was on General Hospital before 7 seasons on MacGyver. What was your favourite invention?
You'd think I'd have a favorite by now. I know the one that gets torn apart the most, and certainly has been, by Mythbusters. I think it's only my favorite because it was so absurd that there's no way that we could have made an ultralight out of bamboo and a motorcycle engine, and just all the weight that was involved. And Mythbusters did an episode and tore it apart. Ours, of course, dipped down below the horizon and then came up, and we flew away from the bad guys. The real one that they made just went down straight into the ground below.
Of course, somewhere in the world, MacGyver is in reruns. Are you surprised it's still on TV some 20-odd years later?
Not so much. I mean, objectively, I can see why it draws a crowd kind of perpetually, because the concept was unique to television at the time, in that we had a TV hero that was willing to think his way logically out of a situation or solve a problem. And at the time, in the mid-'80s, all you really had were shoot 'em up, bang bang shows like A-Team and others. There was a uniqueness to the franchise, and I think the philosophy of the show was such that there was something universal about the lessons that we were presenting. I don't think it'll ever really go out of fashion, although if you look very closely, you can see just how much of an 80s show it was. You'll notice the mullet.
Do you miss the mullet?
I don't at all. No, I think the mullet for me it was an accident, because I always had long hair, but at the time I think one of the producers, Henry Winkler, was one of my bosses, and he might have asked me to get a little trim at one point. I could be making this up, I'm not quite sure. But my hair was long, so I just trimmed it on the side and put it behind my ears primarily, but left all this long, and it was just, of course, became, the ugliest haircut known to man, and quite an embarrassing thing to look at in retrospect.
Now, Trekzone.org is a Star Trek fan site, of course, but bear with me because I found a degree of separation between you and the franchise. In 1995, you executive produced and starred in Legend, a 12-episode comic series that starred Star Trek alumni John Delancey. Do you remember working with him?
God, yes. I hired him, for God's sake. I was co-executive producing the show. I remember having to run auditions for the role, and I hadn't really thought of Delancey too much for the role. I didn't know him at all, to be honest, but he came in, and just in our conversation I could tell that we were going to have a rapport, and he wasn't particularly stellar in the audition, but that even gave me more respect for him, and grew to love him. And his take on the Tesla character, that Bartok, in other words, for us in Legend, we became so tight and just had so much fun.
Now, I must admit, I haven't seen the series, but I need to find it, I think, because it sounds absolutely amazing. Moving on to another Star franchise. It had a big iris.
Star fries.
Stargate, of course, is what I'm talking about.
Stargate.
It was a movie, then became a hit on TV. Did you see the movie before taking on the role that was sort of made famous by Kurt Russell?
I had not seen the movie until I got a call from John Symes, who worked at Paramount when I was doing MacGyver. And he had since changed jobs and was working at MGM. And he called me up directly and just said, Ricky, I want you to do this role. I want you to do this. We're making a series out of the movie. And he said, I know you don't want to work now. You're being a lazy bastard, but I want you to come to work for me. And he said, I'll send you a copy of the movie. But you give it a look, and then I want you to do it. I said, well, thanks for the options. I was flattered that no audition was involved. He had pretty much seen my work and knew what I was capable of. And so I looked at the movie and saw great potential for it to be a franchise. If it didn't have the Stargate itself, the greatest on-camera prop that's ever been developed, if it didn't have that, I think it would have been, it wouldn't have been Stargate, let's be honest. So I called him back and I said, yeah, I'm in, let's do this.
Season after season of SG-1 were commissioned and went to air. Was that a surprise to you? And how did it compare to MacGyver's pickup?
The MacGyver process, which was really much harder to endure than the Stargate franchise, because we never knew with MacGyver whether, in the beginning when they picked us up for 6 more episodes after the pilot, and then 3, and then another 3. So it was just this laborious, kind of nerve-wracking position to be in. And I guess what happened was the ratings started to warrant a little more confidence. So they started ordering up 6 and then 12. And in the end, we were being picked up for, I think, 22 per season. We did 7 seasons, 7.5 seasons, 139 episodes. But who's counting? But yeah, that aspect of it was, I've been elated with the success of the both franchises, but the MacGyver one was harder than the popularity of Stargate. First of all, Stargate was, a science fiction show, basically, and it's always been a very popular genre.
Now, of course, they were all wonderful, but who was your favourite cast member to work with on SG-1?
I absolutely adore, what's her name? Samantha Carter. Amanda is a brilliant comedian. She's directing now, but it's just a really fun actor to play with because she's smart. And having a good comedic, background, she's really fun and easy to work with. In the same breath, I can say that I really enjoyed working with Michael Shanks, because for one thing, he could talk fast, to the point where so fast that my character would end up just saying "what," to his diatribe, and but he and I started to have a really nice rapport on screen, I think, and we all both agreed without really acknowledging it to each other that there was kind of an underlying homoerotic element to our relationship on screen, and we never confirmed or denied any aspect of it, but we would throw hints around it. to see if the audience would sense anything or say anything, or so we had our own level of fun and, you know, juvenile delinquency.
In season 9, you stepped away as series regular of SG1. Do you regret that decision, or was it time to move on?
It was definitely time for me, specifically because my daughter's mother and I weren't seeing so much eye to eye about about life. And so she moved with my daughter back down to LA. And so that made me extremely unhappy. And I realized that that more important in life was going to be my ability to be a father who is there for his daughter, and no matter what comes her way, she has to know that I'm there for her. And it became extremely important to me to follow through on that. So I let Brad and the guys at MGM know that I was choosing my daughter over continuing on the show, and it was an easy decision for me to make. There was no decision to make, actually. In retrospect, if things had been different, I would have stayed with that show as long as they would want me to, because the working environment was so perfect. We all got along just famously.
Do you travel much on the convention circuit? Do you enjoy it? And do you believe that all of these people have come out to see you?
Well, I don't think that's true, for one thing, but yes, I've grown to like doing conventions. I adore meeting the fans, the people who support the genre, basically. But I know I have a certain following, and virtually every one of them knows that I'm a private human, that I don't live a real high life at all. I'm not a Hollywood object, in other words. So with that recognition and understanding, we get along so great. Mind you, there's still a lot of I don't know what to call it. It's not embarrassment, but a sheepishness or a shyness. I think that both a fan and myself share as a common thread of behavior. Because I'm not, I'm I'm no belle of the ball. I'm not real gregarious, but you can get me rolling.
Now, Joe Flanagan said you can't beat a sci-fi fan base. Do you agree?
Seriously, I think the fans of science fiction are probably the most loyal fans to the genre, or any genre. But I think in part that's born of the intellectual elements of science fiction in general.
We are fast running out of time, Richard, but lastly, I have to ask, you are a big champion of the Sea Shepard. Why and how did that come about?
The why of it is easy. I met Paul Watson many years ago, and it was at a convention that was, all the monies were being donated to the Sea Shepard. It was newer back then, and it has always struggled to have enough money to operate. But I listened to Paul speak. The story he told that night was so profound and so full of emotion that I knew that this guy was something special, and he had, I think, the right idea about protecting marine mammals in particular, but also we've expanded to greater environmental protections. But primarily, Paul Paul Watson had co-founded Greenpeace. Over a period of time, he felt that Greenpeace was kind of existing to justify itself. I'm not sure how to verse that without being offensive, and I don't mean to be, but he was more of a hands-on, confrontational type guy, a self-proclaimed pirate. And the only way to do it is by direct confrontation, is Paul's philosophy. Doing my research after that particular evening, I saw that this is where I belonged, with an organization that was going to get something done by doing something, not talking about it. I love working for and with Sea Shepard, in great part because of Paul, but also because of the philosophy behind direct confrontation of companies that are destroying the environment, but also destroying the oceans in particular. Specifically, without the oceans, we don't have life, and there's too much going on industrially, in the industry, and certainly some of the cultures of the world are very reluctant to give up some of their rituals of killing whales and using only parts of it for a ritual. I don't want to be disrespectful to cultures that have grown over the millennium, over the millions of years that they've existed, but there's so much that we don't have to do.
Richard, you are very passionate, and that shows. I wish we had so much more time to chat with you, but as I've said a few times in the past on this podcast series, you are the three greatest names in television. And like Patty and Selma, I am grateful that you've spent some time with me. Richard, all the best and enjoy Oz Comic Con.
Bless your heart, guys.